Welcome back to the Alien Spaceship Talk Show podcast. And in case you're just joining us, you're listening to the Alien Spaceship Talk Show podcast with Emmy, Hikins, and Trevor.
I think that's very valid. Also, the fact that, I don't know, as you say, we can find ourselves in situations we'd rather not be in because we're on our own, say somewhere, as you say, in a park or whatever. Even going to the loo, in the cinema or somewhere. You know, if you are on your own, obviously going to be, if you're going, even if you're going with someone, then you may not always feel comfortable if there's a kid around and stuff like that, you know. So I do know what you mean. We can feel awkward about being in some situations. And I think with the way the gender roles have changed or are changing, you know, we can all often not know what is expected of us. I mean, some of these things I've looked at this since I'm doing this. Says, for example, men are expected to pay for the dates if you go on a date and stuff. Well, yeah. It's probably true. I mean, I always have operated on that basis. But again, nowadays, I think if people are going out regularly together, then it's probably going to be shared. But the initial responsibility does seem to come down on the men, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's very valid points you make there. And I think women as well, in terms of do they have it easier or do men have it easier, women are trusted more than men in society.
Oh, yeah.
Women are treated, I think, more sympathetically in some situations, which we've already said. So, yeah, I think that's one. Maybe it's about 50-50. You know, there's difficulties and advantages very much on both sides. One thing about... obviously with women, we'll look at women separately in a minute, but if you think about it, how they've always in a way been at a disadvantage going back centuries, given that this 100 years ago nearly, they only then got the full vote in 1930, so they were banned from that. And then from the 1920s to the 1970s, they were banned from playing football, having football teams. Which is incredible, really, when you think in the 1970s, it doesn't seem that long ago, and women were not allowed to have teams of football. So they've always, I suppose that's where feminism came from, they've always had to come from behind, if you like, and try and catch up with men, and many women would say they still haven't done that. I mean, it's only relatively recently that in the royal family, the laws of succession have changed, so that a woman, a female, a daughter to the king or the queen, if they're the oldest, they're going to be next in line. Now, it always used to have to be the male, who would be next in line, irrespective of an older daughter. Well, that's changed. But another thing, which I guess it doesn't really matter, but when you talk about, for example, pluck a name out the air, Martin Luther King. Now, as far as I believe, the great speech, I Have a Dream, was delivered by Martin Luther King Jr. Right? I think I'm right on that. Now, when do you ever hear Helen Keller Jr.? Women are not allowed, if that's the way to put it, to have junior. Now, that brings up something else, which again, many men have said is an advantage, and I think it is, and that is we don't have to change our surname. So in other words, that's more likely we're going to have a second or third generation of Trevor Gear Jr., M. Hikins Jr., but a woman won't have that, partly because I guess they change their surnames. They don't actually have to, but they usually do, or tradition is that they do. So why is there not a junior of a succession of women? And that just, to me, that kind of feels a bit unfair on women. But that's just another sort of thought. So just looking to see if there's any other advantages before we move on to the disadvantages, which I'll ask you to list in a minute. Let's have a look. I think that covers that, yeah. So we've looked at perhaps the best things about being a man. It has to be said as well, if the top two generally in research is that men don't have to have the babies, so we won't know childbirth, and men don't have periods. That doesn't exactly sound like, they're not positives about, isn't it great to be a man? You know, we do this, we do that. It's actually saying what we don't have to put up with. So that kind of taps into what I felt last night. I thought, well, what are the best things about being a man? I mean, we have what's called Adam's curse. You know, the men will always have to work because of, you know, God, the way that Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, he said, right, well, after that shemozzle, shambles of behavior in the Garden of Eden, I'm going to make men have to work much of their lives, work pretty hard. And women, yeah, they're going to have the pain of childbirth. I mean, this is all myth and legend, but that's how these things start. So both men and women, if you like, have definite disadvantages purely by the fact that they are.
We're going to take a short break now. We're back shortly. You've been listening to the Alien Spaceship Talk Show with Trevor Gear and Emmy Hikins. The Alien Spaceship Talk Show podcast is looking for sponsors. If you're a company out there looking to spread the word about the products and services you provide, please get in touch with Deepstuff Radio Podcast on info@deepstuffrecords.com, or to use the contact form on our website to contact us. Please visit radio.deepstuffrecords.com. Also, if you're looking to get involved on the Alien Spaceship Talk Show podcast, reach out via our Deepstuff Radio Facebook page. Thank you.